But you knew.
The challenges in the learning space, I think, like what happened recently in WAEC examination, because I teach in the secondary school level as a one of the senior chemistry teacher, and something happened last year. I think the results of the students were cancelled, especially physics, because of examination malpractice and so on and so forth. Now, and I think everything was narrowed down to Imo State. According to analysis, we discovered that the first 10, I think Imo State is one of the schools that are trying in terms of education, but in the this last one written, we discovered that the first 10 tops, Imo State was not there. So the question is this: why must it be only Imo State that was single-handedly, you know? I was like, what is happening? Now, I don't know if I will say it from the Ministry of Education. I don't know if I will say it from the government. I don't really know. But what we're saying is this. A lot of challenges in our education in Imo State. I think we need to call, I think, for a meeting for it so that we can reset what is happening in our education system, because everything is not normal anymore.
You're absolutely right. I happen to have someone very close to me, who jumped in on a project of one of the government public schools, let me use that word, where they don't have math teacher, they don't have some of the subjects, but I know math was involved. Aside the fact that most of these teachers have not been paid their salaries, the children in the space of learning are turning into something else. The stories, the gist, the things we see firsthand. Before now, we understand that the learning space, as it has to do with the schools, yeah, the place where you go and then you are transformed holistically. So it's an all-round transformation. But right now, down to a primary school, cultism is the order of the day. I remember some time back, I think it was last year or thereabout, or 2 years ago, when they were calling from one school around, that area, that hey, the children are, cult activities are going on, everybody's campering, all of that. And when you look at this, these are secondary school children. We have had in this space as well, where people were raped, or either sexual issues coming up from there. I want to ask you, aside all of these things you have said, what is happening in our schools? You guys are the ones out there basically receiving the heat. We hear, and some of the parents also feel, the school is supposed to be a place of learning. China knew what's happening.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. And before I start, I would like to call on the Commission of Education in Imo State, whoever is there, ma or sir. And I also want to call on His Excellency, Governor Hope Uzodimma, to come to our aid in the educational sector. I want to cite an example of my community, Ubomiri. The name of the school is Comprehensive Secondary School. And when you go to the school, the principal's office is about to fall.
Collapse.
Last collapse. So the day I walked into this, there's no structure. So there is no laboratory, so they learn chemistry just on theory. There is no computer lab. And in fact, the school is not fenced. So even the teachers and the students are not secured. Now, right beside the secondary school, there is a primary school. And the storm that happened last year blew the zinc of this primary school off.
Wow.
So these primary kids from the nursery to the primary sections are studying under the sun. So imagine your child is in that kind of school. How would you feel? How would you feel?
That's the issue.
So you see, those that don't have anyone to talk for them, or even pay like 50,000, because no private school now takes less than 50,000, they leave their kids to go to this kind of school where learning is not conducive. So what would a child understand under the hot sun? So we are calling on the Commissioner of Education and the governor of this state. We know you're a loving father, and you will not be happy to know that the children of Imo State are studying under the sun, to come to our aid. If it will involve to get a committee that will go around the local governments and ensure that our primary schools and our secondary schools...
You're now entering solutions.
Yes.
You're now entering some of the things that can be done. So I just got an update. I'm on Twitter. I just got an update on the strike. Of course, you know our universities have been on strike. And like you said, good for those ones who have turned themselves useful by learning other skills. How about the ones, watching things in quote that will not, the ones out there, doing a lot of things and, being pushed by peer pressure. Well, Adamu, the Minister of Education, has assured Nigerians that, the challenge between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, that's ASU, will be resolved soonest and the strike called off in the next 1 week. This is just an update as we speak now on Twitter. Now, given that there's been long sit at home, there's been long off school, there's been long, I never even opened my notes. I've not even, checked that somebody's laughing behind the camera. I've not even gone back to our syllables to see, what am I supposed to study. In fact, at this time, I have been away, probably carried away with one thing or the other that isn't useful, isn't helpful and all. Do you think that everyone would like to go back to school? Like, I've left school for long. Maybe somebody's even making serious bar. Yeah? The money they pay has increased. They have found, ways to increase money. Do you think that these children, with this epileptic school system, do you think they would love to go back to school or want to? They'll be willing to? Mr. Chidi?
I don't think so, because quite a long time now, to leave. Most of them might not like to go back, because of going back again to begin to start all over in terms of learning and rest. Though some of them might still like to go back. Though if you look at what is happening now, like one of neighbor made a statement. She said she's already in her 400 level and supposed to write her final exam before this strike is started. That she's supposed to be graduated by now and the rest. So I was like, okay, what are you going to do? Let's keep on praying, but look for something else to do. She said she's fed up. She don't know what to do again. So she don't think she can continue like this. So now what I'm asking is this: it's not really easy. I believe that many students are aiming that God should help. Let this strike be called off, which I know, based on what you just read, the information you just gave to us now. I believe maybe as soon as the strike will be called off, because many students are willing to go back, while some of them have said they are tired to continue because of the situation around them. Especially maybe the parents could not be able to raise money for them and the rest, so on and so forth. So I think.
Mrs. Wanchiku, do you want to say something about that?
I think there are two things involved here. One is going back to school to finish your studies. Another thing is just acquiring the certificate.
Okay.
Because I don't think that someone that started school will want to leave the certificate unacquired.
Okay.
So some might go back to school to finish up their studies, whilst others will find a way to buy up their certificates. So there are actually two things involved. That's why it still boils down to we don't have structure. Because at the end of the day, all of them will come out with that certificate. Either way. Either they go back to school and they finish, or those that will pursue their business will just keep pursuing their business and they will sort themselves out and get the certificate. But at the end of the day, it still boils down to our system is structureless. These students are not being helped. The ASU strike will go off. So someone that has left book and is busy filling his or her head with something else, or so just imagine dragging the person all the way back. It's not funny. It's not going to be easy. Jumping from it just makes them unstable.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we complain that these youths, they graduate, they don't want to get a white collar job, they don't want to settle down, they don't want to make money the right way, they want it easy and fast. But we are the ones that have pushed them on that track, because they are now making money. They are now making money. Why they should be studying. Now you want to drag them back to studying. when they have seen money. So it all boils down that our leaders, they just have to find a way to put things in place. At least let Nigeria, let our academic section institution run for at least 2 years without us talking of strike. Let's have a structure for once. Then we'll now take care of other things that are contributing to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. I would love to take calls now. All right, the numbers to call 0811-288-7887. I got a WhatsApp message from Chika. Of course, we have our WhatsApp message by which you can send your WhatsApp. It's 081-540-14746. So you don't get us via call, you can send your WhatsApp message. So Chika from Wedrell said, every person has the right to education. Absolutely true. And it said that literacy can be formal and informal. Formal is the educational system. Informal has to do with mentorship and the rest of them. Thank you very much, Chika, for contributing. Free education at that time helped to, strengthen the fact that, people didn't have money and they would love to send their children to school. If I told you I was going to train your children for free, I was really going to sponsor them, scholarship and all of that, I'm very sure you want to give me your child, to take to school for free. All right? And you'll be excited about it. But what he's trying to say is that when that stopped, it became an issue for the parents to continue or to pick up, because it's something that they were not doing at first, right? So it became very challenging for them to pick up from there, to want to now save money to train their children when someone else is doing it for them. Do you think that free education is doing more harm than good? Just 30 seconds.
It's not doing more harm than good, depending on the person that the child is being trained. Every parent has a responsibility to their children. You don't give birth to a child and make up your mind, I leave it up to
somebody to train.
Even if someone is training your child, at least you should make some level of contribution. So don't just hands off and be like, okay, it's now your responsibility. The child is yours. Even when the child is done with education, the child will still be yours. So I feel our parents should at some level get involved, even if in your children. So sponsoring a child is not bad. Neither does it do any harm. It's just an understanding of the parent that this is my responsibility. Even if someone is helping me out with it, I should contribute to it.
All right. Just keep right here with us. We'll be right back. All right, you're still listening to Heritage 88.7 FM. I'm getting used to that. And this is Abi, right, by Whispers. And we're looking at World Literacy Day's topic, which is transforming literacy learning space. We've been talking with Mrs. Oluchiwachukwu, talking with Mrs. Chinanu Chijoke, and also to Mr. Chidi Okirafo. They've all been in the learning space and witnessed a thing or two, and they're sharing with us this afternoon. Please keep your calls coming. Do you think we have the right quality of teachers so far in our learning space? Because we have heard a series of complaints about teachers. Teachers that will not just teach children because they are students, but would take them as their own child. If you take a pupil as your child, you'll be able to do for that pupil what you can do for your child. That means as a male teacher, you cannot rape your female children. That means as a male lecturer, you cannot, harass your female students. That means as a female teacher, you cannot boss or climb on the right of your male children and crush their confidence, right? You help build it. So what do you think about the teachers we have in our learning space?
I think the situation is really, really alarming these days. Teachers, most of our schools are not qualified to be teachers. One, they don't have the qualification. Some of them could be secondary school holders. Some of them ordinary holders, but not education. I remember myself when I was in school, I studied chemistry education, And there are some courses we study then, teachers student relationship, which most of our teachers in our schools are lacking, and they don't care whether you learn, you don't learn, it does not concern them. What they know is that at the end of the month they pay them their salary, which is not supposed to be. At least teachers supposed to get closer to their students, trying to carry them along, even though they are not, because it is true that some of them are olodo. I'm sorry to use that word.
Wow.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, some of them are olodo. If you are trying to teach
Wow.
them, you start behaving and the rest. You can imagine you a teach coming to class to teach student to have the guts to tell you.
Sorry, I'll have to cut you there because you poked me somewhere. Yeah, my heart just skipped. When you already go to a class feeling like some of them are olodo, what kind of concentration will you give to that child?
Okay.
Yeah.
What you should do, because like myself, during my youth service, I served in Delta State St. Rose's Grammar School in Ogwashiku. So now, when I was in that school, before I go to the class to teach, that first I was introduced in the class as a copper to teach them chemistry. Something happened. The children were like looking at me. This one, what is he coming to do? Does he know what he's teaching on this? So I didn't bother to listen to what they were saying. So the first day when I went to the class to teach them chemistry, I discovered that the student themselves, it was girls' school. They were ready to learn at any time. So what I did, I have to go back home and prepare myself. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and begin to prepare. Before 7, I finished preparing, then go to class to teach. Because if not, the children are willing to do what to pull me down because of the kind of level they are. Because I discovered that these children are willing to learn, and after teaching them, they go back home to do research. So now, this current one I'm seeing in my own school, I discovered that if I go to class to teach them, come, let's learn. They will tell you to my friends that they are tired though. The sun is too much and they cannot learn. In fact, the one I've been learning since, they let that one let them absorb it. So for that reason, they don't have that time. So now, the kind of children, you shouldn't to handle them. What to do? Okay, what I will do sometimes, I just use sweet words like "come, don't worry." We will not learn much. What we're going to do, we're going to do some demonstration, and then so that you can carry on and rest. So this kind of method I use, because chemistry, not only teaching, you also demonstrate, and as well as kind of practicals and those things.
I want to say something. I'm very particular about that word you use, because yes, if you have okay, Nano, let me allow.
Okay. Teaching is more of a calling than a profession. It's a profession, yeah,
And that is true.
but it's a calling, and every calling you get to inspire people. You are dealing with lives here. You get to inspire, encourage, motivate, and bring out the God-given talents in that child. What has limited us is that we apply only one method of teaching. For example, in the nurseries, you don't just come and you start reading or writing for them. You can apply Montessori methods or different techniques that induce them to make their learning appetite to wake up. So we really need to change our approach to teaching and learning. So a child doesn't come back from school depressed. And some kids come to school depressed. So when you meet such a child, you need to apply a different method. Motivate that child. Find out what is wrong with the child. That's where it becomes a calling right now, because they're going beyond the profession.
So I'd like to say, for us here at Whispers, right, Sabio writes, no child is an olodo.
Yes.
To be honest with you,
No child is.
if you look at even the one you say don't have sense, there is an area they have strength. The ability for the teacher to be able to look for the strength, that strength area of the child, and use it to, harness that part to suppress the place of weakness, and then transform the child to be able to, somebody sent a message, says some learn with words, some learn with audio aids, and some learn with pictures. Some also learn with videos.
Yes.
He said, this is my contribution, and this is from Uche. Uche sent this message from Spiba. Thank you, Uche, for being part of the show. So I want to say that people are special. Like I have a son who will turn 6 years old in December, right? And there's something about him. At first, when he was 3-4 years, I realized that you bring book and you're reading this one down, the guy will just lose concentration. But when you start acting it out, and the monkey jumped down from the tree, and you have to put all those gesticulations, and you will see his focus. We just, guys, now when I like cartoon, I like all the so we need to look for ways to reach out to them. Mrs. Nwachukwu, in 30 seconds, let me hear your contribution to this.
Concerning no child is Olodo. No child is Olodo. We have a lot of teaching methods for these children. Now, you are a teacher in the class. Okay, let me first of all talk about our teachers not being experienced or not being certified. Some of our teachers are not certified, but when they are being passed through the right and proper trainings, you see them doing wonders in class. Now you are in a class as a teacher, you have to understand your children individually. You don't treat this child the same way you treat the next child. You know their strengths and their weaknesses, and you handle them as such. Some children learn by audiovisuals, some learn by craft, some once you say it, they've picked it. So it depends on the child in the class and the teacher that is handling them. I told a parent something one day. I said, your child doesn't have any challenge. A new parent that came to register was like, I've done everything. I think your child doesn't. I think it's handling. I think it's the way the teacher has been handling the child. And I think it's just a foundational something that we need to take care of. And when we handled it, it came out fine. So I want to urge school owners, especially, when you are doing employment of your teachers, even if you have examined or gone through that teacher and you see that, okay, this person is teachable, still endeavor to pass all your teachers. Like school is reopening now. I know a lot of preparatories that their teachers are in school running trainings for the next section, preparing them, lesson plan and all what have you for the next section. This is supposed to happen. Then make sure you don't leave the teacher up to the children in the class alone. Know what goes on between the children and the teacher, so that at the end of the day we'll not have a child that will call Olodo. Because for me, that language is, I tell my teachers, no child.
I think he wants to say something.
Yeah.
Private school, first of all, let me start with this. Private school, I think, are doing better, let me use that word now, than the public school. Now look at what happened. You can imagine a teacher in a primary school will teach a child, and the child is, if it's not doing well, to just manage and push the child to the next class. The next class again will push to the next class. From there, they will bring them down to secondary school, and the child are not even willing to learn and the rest. But I think so. These are the things that made me say they are Olodo, because if you are teaching them, trying to make them, at least before a child will get to you in secondary school level, I think the child should get to education to an extent. If you are teaching them, because the way you teach in secondary school, especially senior secondary school, is quite different from the way you teach in junior secondary school as well as the primary school as well. So now there are two different things. So if they're not doing well, you find it difficult to cope up with them at the secondary school level. So these are the challenges that made me to say some of them are Olodo, and the children themselves are not even willing. Now, what is happening in most of our schools, secondary school these days?
You're trying to buttress this Olodo point, and I'm not going to give you the chance
to
do so, because I think it's a wrong perception.
No child is Olodo.
It's a wrong perception.
Yes. That is why secondary school teachers.
The truth is, like she said, if your child refuses to learn, you should be worried.
Yes.
You should go and cry. You should go and say, what am I not doing well? Personally, I don't like losing. It's not like losing is ultimately bad. It gives you a chance to do better. But, that challenge of losing keeps me on my toes.
Yes.
I'm like, how do I get this thing sorted out? For example, one of the public schools we went to, this was just a help group, going out saying, okay, you don't have maths teachers, we'll bring somebody here to be a maths teacher. These children, I understand what he's saying, but, if you go with that perception, then you've already lost it in the first place.
You won't impact that child.
You won't. So these children were looking at him and telling him, are you in Igbo? Are you the one coming to teach us? You think you can teach us? He kept smiling and smiling and smiling and left the mathematics and entered story. By the time he started talking to them, he got their attention. Yes. Another person, one of their gang or whatever you call him, the boss, cheerleader, try to form. But at the end of the day, broke down one's defense system, and they subpedal. And they told, by the time he was leaving, when are you coming, uncle? You see, you've ended up, winning the soul of those children, and you will also join in correcting their moral values and all round. Our time is so up. Our time is so up, and we really have to run. Mrs. Chinanu, 2 seconds. Your last word. Final word, rather.
Okay, I want to also say no child is an olodo. Okay. And I want to encourage the teachers out there, go all out and get every training you want to get.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chini.
Okay, I think schools need to have counselors.
Okay.
So you counsel the children to know the area of the subjects they can.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Wacho.
It still boils down to structure. I believe every school owner should build their structure, because once structure is in place, I think every other thing will take suit.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We hope that you had a swell time. Again, we'll come your way next week with better topics for discuss. In case you weren't able to reach the phone line, sorry about that. We'll be opening again next week. My name is Iberry, and remember, this is Sabi, You're Right, my whispers to humanity. Have yourself a lovely day.
What you know?